Most survivor groups make it through the first 6 months. They learn to scavenge. They learn to stay quiet. They learn to run. And then winter comes, and they don't make it to spring. But here's what's strange. When rescue teams finally arrive, they don't find bite marks. They find something worse. Because winter in a zombie apocalypse doesn't kill you the way you think it does. It kills you from the inside. You've seen the movies. The survivors huddle together. They ration supplies. They wait it out. But that's not what actually happens. In December 2019, researchers ran simulations of long-term isolation in extreme conditions. The groups that stayed physically safe had the highest rates of psychological breakdown. Not from lack of food, not from the cold, from each other. Here's the pattern rescue teams kept finding. Summer groups, 12 people. Organized, functioning. Winter groups, 3 people left. The rest are dead. Not from zombies. One study analyzed 47 survivor shelters after a catastrophic event simulation. Every single group that made it through summer lost members in winter. But the shelters told a different story. Because when you can't go outside, can't hunt, can't scavenge, can't escape, you're locked in a box with the same people for 16 hours of darkness every day. And that's when the real survival challenge begins. You survived the zombies. Now, you have to survive your own group. And the statistics say you probably won't. The first 2 weeks of winter feel safe. You're relieved. The zombies are slower. The snow covers your tracks. You actually sleep. And that's the trap. Because safety doesn't make you calm. It makes you aware. Aware of the breathing, the chewing, the coughing. The same 3 stories told on repeat. Psychologists call it enforced proximity stress. Your brain is designed to handle threats from outside. It's not designed to handle the person across from you eating too loudly for 90 consecutive days. Here's what happens in week 3. Someone makes a joke. It lands wrong. Nobody laughs. The silence lasts just a second too long. And now, there's a crack. Week 4. Someone forgets to clean their plate. Week 5. Someone takes an extra blanket. Week 6. 2 people are whispering. You don't know what they're saying, but you know it's about you. Russian research on Antarctic isolation found that by day 40, subjects reported personality disintegration in groupmates. Not actual changes, perceived changes. Your brain starts seeing threats that don't exist because it needs an enemy, and the zombies are outside. One survivor account from a winter shelter describes it perfectly. I started hearing her breathe differently, like she was doing it at me. The breathing hadn't changed, but her brain was rewriting reality. This is what winter does. It turns your survival instinct inward, and once that starts, there's no stopping it. Every group has one moment where everything changes. Researchers call it the fracture event. It's small, always small. Someone eats the last of something. Someone sleeps in too long. Someone makes a decision without asking. Normally, it wouldn't matter. But you're on day 53 of winter. You haven't seen sunlight in 4 days. You've heard the same 6 people breathe for 1,272 hours. And this one thing, becomes unforgivable. Here's what happens next. The group splits. Not officially, not with an announcement, but the room divides. People stop making eye contact. They eat at different times. They sleep facing away, and the silence becomes a weapon. Studies on confined groups show that silence is more psychologically damaging than open conflict. Because conflict has resolution. Silence just builds. Every hour of silence adds pressure. And in a zombie apocalypse, you can't leave. You can't take a walk. You can't go stay with a friend. You can't get distance. You're trapped. One winter shelter was found with a chalk line down the middle of the room. Half the group on one side, half on the other. They divided the supplies, the space, the schedule. They became 2 enemy factions sharing a cage. And the zombies outside didn't matter anymore. Because here's the thing about human psychology. We're wired to cooperate against external threats. But when the external threat is constant and unreachable, our brains redirect. We need to do something. We need to control something. So we turn on each other. The US Navy studied submarine crews for exactly this reason. They found that aggression toward groupmates peaked not during crises, but during calm. When there was nothing to fight, sailors fought each other. Winter in a zombie apocalypse is permanent calm, permanent safety, permanent nothing to fight, except each other. But not every group collapses. One shelter in Minnesota made it to day 74 with everyone still alive. They'd created something that worked. Morning routines, afternoon projects, evening story time. Someone taught guitar. Someone else taught card tricks. They had laughter, actual laughter. Rescue teams later called it the miracle shelter. For 2 weeks, it looked like they'd beaten the pattern, like they'd figured out what everyone else had missed. The psychological reports noted remarkable cohesion and sustained morale. This was the blueprint, the exception, the proof that winter isolation could be survived intact. Then, day 89 came, and someone found the guitar player's journal. The journal described every member of the group, their weaknesses, their patterns, their breaking points. It wasn't a diary, it was a threat assessment. The guitar player had been cataloging everyone, preparing. For what? No one knew, but the trust was gone. This is the moment everything becomes irreversible. Because once that idea exists in the room, it doesn't go away. It sits there, it grows, and eventually, someone acts on it. Historical records from isolated expeditions show a disturbing pattern. The first death is always an accident. Someone fell, someone got sick, someone went outside and didn't come back. But the details never quite add up, and the group doesn't ask questions, because deep down, they're relieved. One winter shelter was found with 9 bodies, 7 inside, 2 outside in the snow. The 2 outside had been dead for weeks. The 7 inside had died within 24 hours of each other. Not from cold, not from starvation, from each other. Here's what investigators believe happened. The group expelled 2 members into the snow. A vote, a necessity. Those 2 died within a day. But the guilt didn't leave. The group turned inward again. Accusations, paranoia, blame. And then the violence started for real. Psychologists call this cascade fragmentation. Once a group crosses the line to harming its own members, it can't go back. The trust is gone. Everyone becomes a potential threat. And the only logical move is to strike first. Winter journals from isolated. Expeditions reveal the same progression. Week 1 to 4, we're safe. Week 5 to 7, we're struggling. Week 8 to 10, we don't trust each other. Week 11 plus, no more entries. Because by week 11, the person writing is either dead or has stopped thinking in terms of we. The final entry in one winter shelter journal read, "They're planning something. I can hear them at night. I need to move first." The handwriting was shaky. The writer was found 3 feet from the journal. The they he was afraid of were 2 teenage girls who'd been sharing a corner. They were found huddled together, starved. They'd never planned anything. This is what winter does. It doesn't kill you with cold. It kills you with fear of the people who are trying to survive with you. Here's the cruelest irony. The people who are best at surviving summer are the worst at surviving winter, and nobody sees it coming. Summer survival rewards action, decisiveness, aggression, and independence. You're the person who runs toward the sound. Who makes the call? Who takes the risk? You're the alpha, the leader, the one who kept everyone alive. And then winter locks you in a room with nothing to lead. Psychological studies on leadership in confined spaces found something disturbing. Natural leaders in crisis become destabilizers in isolation because their brains are wired for action, and winter offers nothing to act on, so they act on the group. Here's how it plays out. The summer leader starts making decisions nobody asked for, reorganizing supplies, changing schedules, creating new rules, not because it's necessary, because they need to do something. The group tolerates it at first, but by week 6, every decision feels like control. One winter shelter leader was found dead with his own rules list stuffed in his mouth. The list had 47 rules. Things like, no one eats until I say, bathroom breaks require permission, talking hours, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. only. He was trying to create order. The group saw tyranny, and they stopped him. But here's the darker part. The people who kill the leader don't survive either, because once you've killed for control, you've proven that anyone can be killed for control, including you. The group collapses into paranoia, and the cycle repeats until there's no one left. There's a reason militaries spend years training people for confined deployment. It's not about physical endurance. It's about teaching your brain that doing nothing is sometimes the correct action. That leadership in isolation means knowing when to shut up. That survival isn't about dominance. It's about disappearing into the routine. Summer survivors never learn this. They're wired to stand out, to be seen, to take charge. And in winter, being seen gets you killed. The people who survive winter are the ones you didn't notice in summer. The quiet ones, the followers, because they already know how to be invisible. They already know how to let the group flow around them without resistance. And in winter, invisibility is survival. Spring comes. Rescue teams arrive, and they find one person, sometimes two, never more. The survivors don't speak much. When they do, they don't talk about the zombies. They talk about the silence, the breathing, the waiting. One survivor described it like this: the zombies were easy. You see them, you run. You hear them, you hide. Simple. But winter, you're hiding from the people hiding with you, and you can't run. Psychologists who interview winter survivors find the same pattern: flat effect, emotional numbness, hypervigilance around groups. These aren't people who fought zombies and won. They're people who survived their own survival group. And the trauma doesn't come from the undead. It comes from the moment they realized the biggest threat was sleeping 3 feet away. There's a checklist researchers use now. Predictors of winter survival: low social dominance, tolerance for boredom, ability to self-isolate within a group, no need for external validation, comfort with being ignored. Notice what's not on that list: combat skills, leadership ability, physical strength. The things that keep you alive in summer get you killed in winter. One final account stands out. A woman survived 127 days in a winter shelter. She was the only one left. When asked how, she said, "I stopped talking on day 12. I stopped making eye contact on day 20. I pretended I wasn't there." The interviewer asked, "But you were there." She said, "Not to them, and that's what mattered." She'd realized the only way to survive the group was to not be part of it, to become a ghost in the room, to let the group tear itself apart around her, while she stayed invisible. And it worked. But when rescue came, she didn't feel relief. She felt nothing, because becoming invisible to survive meant becoming invisible to yourself. Winter in a zombie apocalypse doesn't kill you with cold. It doesn't kill you with hunger. It kills you by trapping you with the one thing humans can't survive: each other. With no escape, no purpose, no enemy except the people trying to keep you alive. The zombies are outside, but the real threat was always inside. And if you understand that, you might be one of the ones who makes it to spring. But you won't be the same person who went into winter. Nobody ever is. If you like this video, please give this a like and subscribe. Also, leave a comment what I should cover in the next one.